We're back. In the other video, you saw us remove the exhaust manifold, you saw us remove the bumper, and now it's time to tackle a whole new set of problems. What do I mean by problems? Let me show you. Here's our problem. This guy has to be mounted somewhere in front of this car, but there is not much space. So we're trying to figure out exactly how we're gonna route the lines. We're gonna mount this to figure out where's the best placement. Let me show you everywhere we're thinking about doing it. So I'm thinking about mounting it right up here. It's gonna get the most amount of wind and cooling. No, I'm just messing with you guys. So we have a lot of space inside here. We could technically mount it right here, right in between the intercooler and the radiator. So technically, if we wanted to go this route, it fits in here and there's plenty of space. But we just don't know if this is the best spot because already the radiator's here, the intercooler's here, and we want as much airflow as possible. And actually this oil cooler comes with a fan. So we're actually thinking about mounting it here in the side somehow, but as you can see, if we put it like this, it's gonna be sticking outside of the vehicle. So we might have to go sideways, diagonal, we might have to go in this angle, that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out if we have to trim this, and we still don't know. We still don't know what's the best placement. More than likely what I'm gonna do right now is bring the front bumper, see exactly how it's gonna fit inside the front bumper, and then go from there. We also have the oil lines that we have to route. So this is the feed line, and it comes from this side. This is where we're gonna be picking up the high pressure oil. We're gonna be dumping it right on top of there. More than likely what we're gonna do is we have the oil cooler fitting, and your oil filter goes right in here and it sandwiches into the block like this. And one of these lines, one of these ports right here, I think we're gonna hook up the oil feed line for the turbo right into that, because I think that might be the cleanest solution for this. And I have tested it out. This line fits right in there perfectly. So in the other side, we could run a oil temperature sensor, so we can monitor the temperature on the oil. So yeah, this video is more of trying to route things and figuring things out. So just bear along with us as we solve all these problems. We also got more parts that came in. So this is for the blow-off valve, and this baby is gonna go right here. So I'm gonna have to do some trimming. So some more fab work in this video. So basically this guy sits right on here, and of course it works with the vacuum line, and as the throttle body closes, it makes that famous noise that everybody loves. Plenty to do, plenty to figure out, lots of fab. I mean, look at this. There's a box here full of parts. There's another box over there full of parts, and all of this. So that's enough yapping. Let me go ahead and get started. Even though this is very small, I have to make this a little bit smaller so we can make everything fit. So I have made a mark here and here. So I'm gonna cut it, and then with my bead roller, I'm gonna roll it. I have to be careful because if I get too close to this, then I won't be able to roll the bead. So I'm leaving enough space so we could still be able to use this piece, because if I mess up here, I have to buy a whole new one. The surgery was a success. Here it is trimmed. And these are the two pieces that were here. And I was able to roll the bead with this tool again. Now I'm gonna clean it up a little bit. So now I'm gonna use my belt sander just to even everything out and just clean it up. Everything looks very good. So now I'm gonna be using this little tool. And this allows me to clean up the inside of the pipe and take off all that material that you see there that's been left over from the cutting and the grinding. It's gonna clean that up. Let me show you how that works. So basically you just grab this little tool right here and you run it along the edge. And just like that, you're able to clean the inside. Now this guy is ready to be installed. Let's go ahead and do exactly that. Let's install it. Okay, so I think we have discovered how we're gonna mount the oil cooler. And if you look inside the grill, we're gonna remove this mesh later, but inside the grill in there, You can see that's the oil cooler. That's the radiator for the oil cooler. Now, let's take a peek through here. It's gonna sit something like that, somewhere in there. But we have to remove the bumper so we can mount everything. We have an idea of where it's gonna go. It's gonna go like that. I'm gonna do something here so we could have a good idea and like how close I could go to the edge. So I placed this piece of tape here on the floor so I could have a good reference in where the bumper ends. So when we remove it, I know how far I could put the oil cooler out towards, because we want to leave space for the intercooler piping. So we have to try to do that right now. We're going to remove the bumper and we're going to see how much space we have to play with. I'm going to run the piping. I just finished trimming the piece that goes into here. So we're going to go ahead and fit all that together. So this is what I was talking about. This is as far to the right as I can go right now. All right, guys, I'm laying on the job here. So check this out. This is where the oil cooler is gonna sit. I have my mark down here with the tape, and I believe this is what we're gonna do. I have connected this line, and it is just inches away, probably a couple of millimeters away from touching the frame rail, but it's gonna sit something like this. And you can see the mark on the floor. This is where the bumper, the edge of the bumper is, and the intercooler is still under here. We're thinking the scoop that it has in the front bumper is gonna direct the air right into here. The fan still has to go back here, but we have enough space between the tire and the fan and everything. So I think we're gonna be fine. We could also route the fan in front of here, but I would rather it suck than push. So I would rather it pull the air through than try to push it through. So I did route the intercooler piping. So it goes this way and it goes down and it goes to the intercooler right in there, and everything seems to be lining up and fitting. So later on, I believe once we get further along, I'm gonna 3D print a scoop so it mounts right to the front bumper and it directs air right into that oil cooler, so it could kind of ram it in there. All right, guys, this is something I forgot to show you in the other video. And look at the bracket, look at the rivets, look how nice this came out. Look at the other side. And also, this is the line for the power steering. I bent this up here and I put another self-tapper right in there. So the intercooler is mounted and it looks like it was meant to be. Look how nice it's routed. So we have another custom bracket right here. I just made this. This guy sits right in between here. Something like that. But if you notice, I drilled these in an angle, and that's because I'm gonna mount this oil cooler slightly slanted. So it's gonna go this way. So we could have as much clearance as possible from the bottom so nothing hits it in the bottom. And I think that's gonna work just fine. But right now, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and mount this on here. I'm gonna set this inside here and I'm gonna hit it with some rivets and I'm gonna permanently place it in there. So then when you have to loosen this oil cooler to service it or whatever, you just disattach it with some bolts. Should be pretty straightforward, very, very easy to do. Okay, so we have a little bit of a challenge. Today we have to drop the oil pan. We have to do that to be able to tap into it. Some of the people online, I have been watching their videos, and of course we all watch YouTube. You guys are watching right now. And I have noticed that they're not dropping the oil pan and they're just kind of tapping into the side of the pan and they're putting glue. I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna race this car on Sebring. We're gonna take it out there in the track, and the track is really bumping. Not to mention, if something was to ever happen, we're driving this in the street and that line comes loose, not good. But I understand why no one is dropping the oil pan, because it's not easy taking this off. Basically, the oil pan and the transmission are fused together. They have bolts along the back of the bottom and it's not easy to get to. Let's take a peek. All right, so in the front you have the oil pan, of course, you can see the drain plug, and in the back you have the transmission. Now you have bolts going straight into the oil pan from the transmission, bolting on to that oil pan. So basically we have to loosen some of those bolts around the housing so we could drop this oil pan. So I understand why they're not doing it. I understand that the subframe's in the way. We are gonna try to take a different approach and see if we could achieve this smoothly without any complications. We will see. You might hear me curse today. So we have all the bolts loose on the pan right now, but we cannot break it loose. Okay, so I found a little spot right here and I pried it down and we broke the pan loose. So this is right above the block, right next to the transmission, and there was just a little spot on this side and on the other side of the engine, and I was able to break it loose. We should have this out in another 5 hours. Baby. We're in a pickle right now. We're almost there. We're like this close. That's what she said, pretty much. Let me show you. Let me show you what's going on. We have the subframe almost all the way down. We're trying not to drop it all the way. We're just trying to make just enough room. But let me show you all the rigging we had to do. Okay, so you see those blocks of wood? That is holding up the transmission and it's holding up the engine. So right here, right in between, we have the transmission being held up by those pieces of wood. We have this jack holding the subframe and this other jack holding the other side of the subframe. And we're trying to evenly lower it down so we can remove the pan. Now, check out the pan. If this was a regular vehicle, the pan should have fell out a long time ago. But look how deep it goes into the transmission housing. It's just, I don't know, it's just dumb the way this is designed. So
stupid design.
Yeah, it's very stupid. So we're almost there. We almost have it out. Let me try to change the angle so you can see to the front. Look how much space we have here. Look how much separation there is. But we can't get it out of there because the pan goes in so freaking deep into the transmission housing. So once I have this removed, I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about. But you can see the suspension is loose, the subframe is loose, and we're trying to not get hurt here because everything is rigged up. Look what underneath the vehicle looks like. So we have supports everywhere, but we're trying to do this without getting hurt. So guys, just for this effort, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up so you can keep seeing crazy shit like this all the time. All right, so it's been a couple of days and Chris was able to take this oil pan into work and he cleaned it in the parts washer and he's done a very nice job with this. Now, it's time to tap into the oil pan. This is gonna be the return line. This is gonna go right on the turbo. So here's what's going on. Depending on where I put this guy, I'll either have great access or I'm gonna screw it up. So we had marked previously before removing the oil pan and we have a good idea of where we wanted to go. We marked it, we figured that right here, right next to this groove and in between this bolt and the groove was a perfect spot for the tap. So I could put this fitting in here, this bomb in here. So this is the perfect spot. But I have discovered something. Inside this oil pan, there's this plate, this baffle, okay? It's attached to the pickup tube. I'm in the middle of recording right now. I'm gonna leave this in the video. Yeah, you see who's calling, guys? He's keeping tabs on me. He's trying to make sure I get the job done. Chris, I'm gonna get it done. You wanna say something to the viewers?
Hey viewers, subscribe to Pro Builds. You guys don't want to miss anything that happens on this channel.
So the following situation is happening. You have this baffle and you have the pickup tube. This is very important. This picks up the oil from the bottom of the pan and it pumps it up into the engine. So when I drill and tap into this pan, it's gonna start to interfere with it. I have to decide whether I wanna modify this plate or if there's another place for me to tap into the oil. I don't believe there's another spot. If I run it a little bit forward, the AC bracket, it's in the way. If I run it a little bit back, the motor mount's in the way. And then back here, it's not gonna work for sure. So this might be the only spot I have. I have to double check and verify everything. I might have to modify this a little bit and cut into it, which it's something I don't wanna do. So basically I have to make the decision if this is the best practice for this situation. If whatever I'm gonna modify, if it's gonna affect the engine in a negative way. Once this thing is attached, I'm gonna attempt to connect it with this fitting. I am hoping, since there is a bend right here, this doesn't get damaged because it'll sit something like this, like that. Okay, I don't want to put stress into this. I want it to have as little amount of stress as possible. So the turbo sits away from the pan a little bit, away from the pan, and I'm hoping this is going to be the perfect installation. We will see. We'll find out. If it doesn't work out this way, if this fitting doesn't work out, I actually could come straight out of the oil pan with this, but I would prefer something like this. So there is no stress on the hose when it bends up. I want to provide like an elbow. All right guys, so I made a decision and I'm getting ready to drill into this pan. So I'm gonna be installing this bong right here. First, I'm gonna measure how big it is and then I'm gonna find the right drill bit because I don't want to go too big. Okay, so let's take a peek of what I've done so far. I have drilled into the pan, and this is the bong. This is a part that goes right in here, okay? You can see it's just about to fit right into place, but I did something here, and let me explain. Whenever you're using one of these taper bits, and they're very useful, but when you start to drill, it does start to taper the material, and if it's thick like this, it starts to bevel it and you won't have a flush cut. So what would happen is when you start to drill through this hole, you're gonna have one side that's bigger than the other. That's something I don't want. I want this to seal as much as possible. So I have stopped prematurely before I open up this side too much, because usually you have this side is bigger than the back side, and I cannot drill going this way. There's not enough space. So I have stopped. I started to file everything down around here to take care of the lip that it created. So basically this is going to sit as tight as possible. I don't want to remove too much material because I needed to seal. And this is the part that seals. So you can see why I'm taking so much precaution. It's because there is so little material that's going to seal this bong from the oil leaking out of it. So of course there's one of these sits in the inside and one of them sits in the outside, and it sandwiches the whole system together. But I want to take precaution because you could only imagine if I was to remove too much of this material, this is not going to be able to seal properly. It's not going to work. Okay, so let's check out the progress that we have here. We have the hole. Let's remove that. And we have, look how perfect that is. Now, This is why I am being so picky. Once you get it past here, okay, there is play. That's because the threads are bigger than the actual fixture that it sits in here once you push it all the way in. So that's why I was being cautious and not removing too much material. And like I showed you with the seal, once the seal sits on there, you know, once the seal sits on here, there will be nothing to seal this with. So all right, so here we go. We have it installed and it looks very nice. So here comes the next phase. We knew we were gonna have to modify this plate right here so we could get this bong to fit correctly. This is designed so when the vehicle stops and slushes all the oil forward, it doesn't go up all over the place. It kind of keeps it down in the pan. So there's a lot of aftermarket plates like this that is designed to do exactly what I'm saying. There's some that have active baffling that keeps the oil all in one spot. So as you're cornering left or right or accelerating, the oil surges in, but it's not able to go back out. And that's basically what this plate is. This is something Mazda put in their engines. Now, if you look inside here, there's another plate just like that. And that goes where the pickup tube is. This is the pickup tube where it sucks the oil back into your engine. This is where it's sucking it up from. So all your oil is collected down there and it's sucked back up to your engine and it recycles it throughout everything. So by me doing this, it's not gonna lose any of its functionality. It's just gonna be a little bit modified. There's gonna be a little hole right here, right in the corner, and it's gonna be just fine. So let's go ahead and get to that. So you can see it doesn't sit very well. So I'm gonna pull this guy out of here and I'm gonna use a little bit of this. Very little, we don't need too much. And I'm just gonna put it on top of here, the fitting. So you can see there's just a little bit there and that's exactly where I'm gonna be cutting. All right guys, so I have modified it and let me show you exactly how it fits and how well everything has come together. Come over here. So this guy, the pickup tube sits in that little hole like I showed you before, and you slide this guy right in here. You can see right here is the bong, but we have ran into another situation. So when I drilled this, I had calculated as much as I could in anticipating for any type of clearance issues that we were gonna encounter while doing this, and I didn't anticipate one, and that's the crank, rotation of the crank. So apparently the crank, since it's a 4-cylinder, there are 4 grooves. There are some grooves here, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 right here for the last crank. Okay, when it rotates inside here, it gets very close to this edge. It's very close to that bong. It's almost about a touch. That's what it looks like. We went underneath and we installed it without any silicone and we rotated it and it didn't touch anything. But I have ordered a tool so I could stick in here and see how close did we get. This was as high as I wanted to go. I wanted to go as high as possible for the oil to drain. Now, if I would have got lower, the pickup tube runs along the bottom side and we would have ran into another problem. We wouldn't have been able to put this baffle on. So it had to go there. But you're gonna just have to wait and find out until the tool gets here to figure out how close did I get to that crank and if this is gonna work. Because if it doesn't, then I need a new pan. See you in the next one.